Right, hello everyone. This is Josh, also known as Yashu. You're just tuning in to the 89th episode of the TLOY Talks podcast. You can get this on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Buzzsprout, much more, and all that. We're nearly to 90 right now, and we're close by to the 100 and all that. So, definitely tap in with those. We appreciate the support, the love, everything else too. Even like with that, content is gonna be changing like here and there too, so definitely like stay tuned with that, and like even with the podcast too. And I'm just gonna like get it like started right here and all that too. So when I first actually found out about the artist too, she was actually featured on a song that kind of like gravitated to me too for a bit too, just with the vocals, melodies, like everything else too. Just even the way the chorus and like bridge was like kind of like built and all that, and like even with the incorporation of like like the double vocals like here and there too, it's like amazing to hear. And then from Toronto, and has like tracks like Inner Peace, like Love Language, WBKI, Nevermind. She actually has like an EP called like Double Dosing, which is out now on all platforms and all that too. So we have Nicole Glazunov on the podcast. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me.
Sure, because like when I first found out about you, you were actually featured on a song of an artist that, that I was like listening to, that I had like on the platform too for a bit. And I think it's like kind of like obvious, like in a sense and all that. But like when I heard about like when I was like listening to like the track, like for that time and all that, it was kind of like a breath of fresh air and all that too, just like with the way to incorporate it, like in the chorus and all that, like in the like bridge and all that. It was just like friggin' like fire and all that. And then like I was like trying to like listen to like the other stuff too, and it was like, like this is like, kind of interesting too. Like kind of reminds me of like certain like, all pop artists, like alternative like R&B artists too and all that. And it's like amazing to hear and all that.
Thank you.
For sure. And I definitely like want to get like started and all that too, for people that may not know you for like the first time and all that too. So, where did you grow up, and what's like the environment like for you, like growing up? Would you say it was like great, or was it like different?
It was different because my parents are both from Moscow, but they didn't meet until they both immigrated to Israel, which is when they met and they had me. So I was born and raised in Israel. The music scene is kind of non-existent there, um, unless it's Israeli traditional music, But I was always drawn to it ever since I was probably 3 or 4. That's when my mom got me like a toy piano, and then I just played it, and she was like, "Ooh, like she got potential. Like she knows what she's doing." Um, my dad also used to blast music first thing in the morning, so I was just like, I loved it. I loved it from like ever since I came out of the puss, pretty much.
Nah, I know what you mean too. And like, I mean, Israel, it is kind of an interesting place. I mean, like right now, it's like not at a great standstill, like in terms of like popularity and all that because of what's going on. But when did you like move to like Toronto and all that?
So I was turning 12 when I moved here. So basically, half my life was there, half my life was here. Yeah.
And I guess like with Israel, like versus like Toronto and all that, like I guess just like the way of life and like cultures and all that, was it like kind of like similar or like very, very different?
Everything's different. All my cultures that I've experienced are different from one another. The Russian culture is like one that's completely different. And then, um, yeah, really like all of them are different.
And I guess like when you moved to Toronto, like like what were like some ways that like I wouldn't say like what were like some ways, like was it like kind of like a culture shock like when you moved in here, like just like the cultures, norms, all that?
Yeah, yeah, in a lot of ways. In terms of like how people's relationships are here is different from what I've been used to. Um, Friendships, relationships in general, and obviously the music scene is completely different. It felt kind of lonely at first. Maybe it still does sometimes. Um, but I think the music scene here is getting slightly better and more open.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. And to even like speak more on like your introduction to music, like I know you said like you grew up like playing like the piano and all that, and like your dad like played like a lot of music at the house too. So, like what was that like, like even like growing up too? Like did you like take any like lessons, or were you like listening to like certain artists or like sounds throughout that time and all that?
So What got me into my favorite genre, which is jazz, is Amy Winehouse. My mother, literally love her so much. Um, that's one of the things that my dad used to blast. So I was like, wow, I love this. Like the sound is so like different. I started taking lessons when I was 6 and it went right into being like classically trained. So I had an opera teacher that was super loud and like trained obviously, and I was this shy, timid kid that like was scared to produce any sound, but I knew I wanted to do it so bad. Um, but yeah, I became her favorite pretty fast. So
Got you. And I guess it was like more like vocal like type stuff and all that too, like vocal lessons.
yeah, it's a lot of technique stuff, which actually now I'm super grateful that that's how it happened for me because there are certain things that you can do as an artist and as a singer. And if you don't have the proper technique, in 10 years, you won't be able to do it anymore, you know? So I'm glad that I got that part down.
Sure. And like I guess like it's also like even like performing live like in front of like an audience and all that too. So how was that experience? Like even like performing that type of stuff and all that.
Mm. I had stage fright for the longest time. I was always scared to not get it perfect because I am a perfectionist. And it's gotten better over time because now I'm like, well, I'm in this. Like, I committed. I might as well be in my power when I do.
Oh, for sure. And even like growing up, what were you like? Like I know you said like you were like Tim and all that too, but like, did you also have like other like interests like growing up and all that type of stuff?
Um, I did, but music was really my whole life right away. Yeah.
And what was like that moment when you first started into getting into like making like music like on your own and all that?
So I remember being a kid and playing the piano and writing a lot, and it was in different languages. Some were in Hebrew. I tried to do some in English, but I had like a limited amount of knowledge.
Sure.
Like I didn't really speak English. English is my third language, so um, yeah, I wrote some songs in Russian too. But I only started producing when COVID started, and that's when I was like, I actually like to take things into my own hands and things that are in my brain can't always be made by someone else, you know? So sometimes I just have to sit down and do it. So that's when I committed to producing.
Oh, when you like first like made like those like types of like songs and all that too, was it like very like the people that reacted like how did they like react like in a way and all that?
Mm, as in like my family, my friends type shit.
Like family and
My family was always supportive. They are immigrants though, so it's always like, well, when are you gonna get a real job?
friends.
But it's like, yo, this is my job. This is my life actually. Um, but yeah, they were always supportive. They obviously like paid for every lesson and um even in high school, like when all my friends were like, let's go here, let's go there, I'm like, actually I have a vocal lesson, I can't.
No, I know what you mean too, because I know with like some families too, like they kind of have like a little like altering edge into like getting their kids to like focus more like on education and all that too, and like others, it's like like they want to like pursue like this and all that too. So when did that become like a point when like the family started like supporting like a little bit like more and all that?
Mm, they were always supportive, but when it came time to like apply to universities and stuff, they didn't think that I would go into music like post education wise. Um, I did major in psychology. I recently graduated, which I love psychology. It's one of my like hobbies and interests outside of music, and yeah.
Sure and all that. And to speak more on like getting into like start like in music like fully and all that too, like what inspired you to become like a singer songwriter and artist and like even like take it like seriously like in that sense and all that?
Mm, I guess it was never like even a debate in my head. I always knew it's like a calling, you know? It's my purpose. I always felt like it was.
For sure. And like I know you said like like Amy Winehouse was like kind of like a main influence like within like getting into music, but what were like some other artists or genres that were you like mainly like influenced by, and is there like any like artists that you would like to like work with someday and all that or?
Mhm. My dream collabs are Erica Badu. That's a stretch, but I would die. Cleo Soul, I love very much. I find that recently she's been influencing my music a lot because I like more raw sounding stuff now.
For sure. For sure. And to even like get more onto like Amy Winehouse, like I know she dropped the biopic Back to Black and all that too. I think her family released that like in theaters and all that too. So I don't know if you've had like
I actually watched it the other day. I was like, oh, okay.
do you like how do you like rate it? Do you feel like it's like an accurate like portrayal?
No, I feel like they did the they took like the easy, non-risky route with it, where it's like, okay, we're gonna show her love life and like how it fucked her over. Um, but I think as like a true fan, you want to see more of like her musical journey and like the behind the scenes stuff, like the struggles of that, you know?
Yeah, like I was like watching the movie actually just like last week and too and all that, and I think like with the situation too, because it focused like more on like the whole like tabloid situation and like just like even with her stuff like with Back to Black, it didn't even focus on like Frank, her time in like Ireland around that time, like even from the birth and all that too, because I would have expected, like something from birth
Yeah.
to like now and all that,
Yeah, like her as a kid or something, like
yeah,
how she even like got into
yeah.
starting to write and stuff. It's true.
And like, I mean, I've read like from Rotten Tomatoes actually that like some of the reviewers, it's like more tabloid based rather than like the whole like Amy Winehouse like story into music and all that too. And like it had like a lot of like low ratings. I think it was like the lowest within box office around that time too. So yeah,
The actress, though, I will say, in the beginning, I was like, ugh, girl, it's a lot of pressure. I get it. But then I think she started embodying Amy way better because I feel like in the beginning of the movie, it was like a little too bright to be Amy because Amy had like a darker vibe to her, you know? And then, oh, throughout the movie, it got better, I think. I think it's a lot of pressure to play Amy. So, with all things considered, she did a really good job.
for sure. I actually would have expected like Lady Gaga to take on that role. She had kind of had like more like similar features. Is like a vocalist as well too. Like even with music too. So it's like
Yeah, or like Ray or something, because Ray gets compared to Amy a lot.
but I feel like the only situation too is like the skin complexion too, because like with Amy, I think she was like
Yeah, she was Jewish. Well, white girl, yeah. Ray wouldn't really make sense. It's true.
like Lady Gaga could have made sense too, but yeah, I mean, I think some of the documentaries that they've had too, like it was like a little bit better too. So it's like, yeah,
Yeah, the OG documentary about Amy, that's the goat.
yeah, for sure, and to getting back more onto your story for a bit too. So like, what's like your creative process like when making music, and what would like a day in the studio be like for you?
Every time it's different. It's whatever I feel like in the moment. Sometimes I'll have a concept in my head that is already either in my notes or just in my head, and um whenever time is right, I like to execute it whenever I feel like called to do it. I don't like to force things and like this is like my schedule and this is like how I'm going to do it. So yeah, it is different every time. Lately, it's been sitting with the piano or the guitar and just like trying different things, whatever comes out.
Sure. Are you more of like a home studio body, like recording at home, or like
Yeah, I have a setup. It's all pink because pink's my favorite color. Yeah, everything's pink. My guitar is pink. My table, my everything.
for sure. And was it like something that you had to like get used to and all that too, like with the engineering, with like producing all that type of stuff too, or was it like kind of like easy, like in a way? And all?
Um, it's never easy, really. Like, there's always some shit happening, and you have to like learn as you go. And there isn't like any shortcuts really that you can take. It's just like shit happens, you have to deal with it, and that's it.
For sure, and all that. And even like when making music too, like are there like ways that you kind of like try to be like in that element too, like smoking weed or like having like a candle in the room or like sipping.
I love creating a vibe, and I love weed. I'm in my bong era right now. But yeah, weed definitely helps me. Shrooms in the long term have also helped me be more open creatively and not put so many rules and limits because I find that the less rules, the better. Even if you think something is like the correct way to do things, it's not always the best for the song, you know?
No, I know what you mean. And to speak more on like the EP, like double dosing, I guess that's like the first EP you've had and all that. And so, what was like that whole like inspiration and creative process like?
So that was my wild era. It was when I was writing very like sexually explicit things just because like it felt right at the moment. Um, Compared to my music now, I would say Now my music is more wholesome and more focused on like the journey of self and stuff like that, which like everything has its time. So yeah, that was my wild era.
For sure. And I like even like with that like style and all that too. Like, was it like something that gravitated to like different like audiences, like in a sense and all that?
Yeah. Um, that EP was like honestly a hit for a lot of people. Even like men would like sing the lyrics back to me, and it's like some of the lyrics is very wild. So I'm like, okay, cool, thanks, buddy.
I know what you mean too. And I mean, you've had like other singles. Like, I mean, Inner Peace is like kind of like your latest like single and all that too. And then Love Language and WBKI. Like, am I saying that correct?
Yeah, so it's short for we both know it.
True. And even like Nevermind too. So like even with those like other songs too, like what were like the whole like creative processes and like inspirations like for those and all that.
So those inner peace, for example, came from a conversation that I had with the co-producer of the song. It was the first day we met, actually, and we were talking about like healing and how when you work on yourself internally, that's when you can start affecting other people around you too. So it's just like how negativity spreads, positivity also does when you radiate that energy within you. So that was like the whole conversation. And while that conversation was happening, he was playing guitar chords. And I'm like, what is that? Send it to me now. And the next day, I wrote Inner Peace. It was one of those songs that literally channeled out of me and just came out, and it didn't like have to think about the lyrics or anything. It just came out. Um, Whereas with We Both Know It, that was like more of a summer song that I wanted to do. Like I don't usually um write upbeat songs, so it felt like different with that one. But pretty much all of those, Nevermind, Inner Peace, We Both Know It, all of them came from conversations that inspired the concept.
Oh, for sure. And like I know you said like these were like real life experiences that you've dealt with and all that too. So just like to even like pick your brain for a bit too. Do you feel like songs that are more based on like real life experiences tend to have like more of a genuine or like greater like approach like in terms of like listening like versus like stuff that's like kind of like a fake storyline like all that type of stuff and all that?
I think so. I really pay attention personally as a listener to whether there's like soul in the song, and if it's just like some basic shit I have heard a million times and I can't really like connect with the song like that. And when someone puts like a piece of themselves or their perspective into the song, you can really tell. So I really prefer that.
And I guess like is it like kind of like same to like even like gravitating to like certain artists that speak more on real stuff versus like fake
Yeah.
BS?
Like Cleo Sol, I find does it really well where she puts these like really simple words and concepts, but like they're really important for people to hear.
Sure. And you also actually made like a song like in like Russian as well too. So like what inspired you to do that? And do you feel like it connects more to fans like within Russia or would you say it was like kind of like different?
Well, so Spotify is banned in Russia, so I don't know about that, but my mom always wants me to sing in Russian, so I did what she wanted with that one.
Sure. And like even like when people like have heard that song too, like have you had like people like reach out like because of that song and all that or
Yeah, some people are still hitting me up about that song, and I'm like, ooh, no, no.
nah, I know what you mean too. You're actually friends with another artist that I've had like on the platform, Beauty in the Right and all that too. So how did that come about?
That's my girl. That's my that's my guy. We met at like a woman's writing camp actually, or it was just like a camp in general where like everyone it was just girls, which felt so good and safe and wholesome. And yeah, we were like most of the people went to another room to start writing and whatever, and me and her stayed in the more isolated room with like the rest of the shy people. And we sang together, we took pictures, we like just caught a vibe right away. And now I teach her vocal, so that's
S-
funny.
Yeah, no, like it's interesting too because like I know like with her like she has like a father that was like one on like in music and all that too. And like just like even like connectivity and relationship too. It's like kind of like interesting to see and all that, for sure. And like even to speak more on that, like in general, like how do you even like value like the importance of like friendships like in the music industry? And do you feel like it's important to establish and maintain those, or is it like strictly like business and all that?
I don't think it should be strictly anything. Um, it is really important to have to feel like there's people who believe in you without like you having to give them something in return, like they just believe in you and that's it. And that's like really important and validating for artists.
Cause I know, like like in the music industry too and all that, like friendships like either like come and go, or like there's ones that do kind of stay real and all that too. But like a lot like tend to have like this like different like mindsets or like different like alterations on their purpose of that friendship, whether it's like having connectivities or like doing like certain stuff and all that too and all that. So do you like tend to notice that like with certain people or just like within certain environments?
Yeah, yeah, there's always going to be people who try to use you if you let them. And also who think that they can get something out of you that it's like, yo, like I'm not even up like that. Like I don't know what you want from me. But yeah, there's always going to be people like that. And in general, I think like a real friendship or relationship is a lot of work in a good way, but it's work and it doesn't just like happen without like any bumps. So
And it's just like knowing like like the right connectivity and all that too, and like building that experience like over time and all that. So for sure. And with TikTok, it's like kind of like a viral thing, like when it comes to like the music industry, with people creating like content for music and all that too. So usually, I think Kelly Rowland, I mean not Kelly Rowland, Kelly Clarkson, like kind of like said this too, like on if it's like an effective strategy like within music too. But do you feel like finding a way to make your music go viral on TikTok is like a fair, creative, effective like marketing strategy proposal, or do you think it diminishes like the artistry and all that?
mm, I don't think it diminishes the artistry. I think artists that make the music diminish the art of the song because they try to make TikTok specific music, and that's cool and everything, but people's attention span is so short that it's like, okay, this is cool. Next, next, next. So it's cool for a bit. And if you have like a long term intention with it, you could take it far. I think Ray is a good example because she like took what people loved and like leveraged off of that. And also just like you can tell she loves what she's doing, and it's not just like, oh, I'm trying to make a TikTok hit. Um, I think in that case, it's really helpful. But if you're just trying to make TikTok music, it's like people are gonna get over it soon enough.
I mean, social media nowadays and all that too. Like, I think like that was like kind of like an interesting one that I had. Like, how do you feel about that nowadays and all that?
About social media. I think just like everything else, it can be used as a tool for destruction or as a tool for betterment. And when when you're scrolling and it starts feeling like not good in your body, I feel like more people should be just like attuned to that feeling. Like if it's starting to feel like ugh, like draining, that's when you should take a break and like be in reality a little bit.
Sure. Because I know like it helps like with artists like in some ways too to connect with like fan bases of all that type and all that. Like others, yeah. So like I feel like there is like a 50-50 like way on like how connectivity is and all that with artists, like even like networking, like it's like kind of like a good way and all that. But like if it's like personal stuff and all that, it's like because you notice like you'll see like the posts and all that, and like either it's like gonna be like high value like type posts, or it's gonna be like stuff that's like
Brain
like
rot.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think it can be used for really productive and beautiful things.
And if like music like never like really happened, would you ever feel like to kind of like close off like social media and all that too, or do you feel like you it might be a good purpose to have it like in a sense and all that?
I would still use it to try to do something I feel like will affect people in a good way. Um, if music wasn't a thing for me, I would probably do like educational psychology content or something like that because I love sharing my knowledge about those things.
And to even like speak more on that, do you think it has like helped, even with like music and all that too, like with like your music like in a way and all that?
Yeah, I think it like when you know a little bit better how people operate, you can like avoid a lot of conflict. You can avoid a lot of like situations you don't want to be in. And you can also like read people's intentions better.
And just like knowing like even like creating like the right song, like if it hits like different like emotions, different like mindsets and all that.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, even like colors and stuff you can use visually in your music is like draws different feelings out of people. Yeah.
I mean, we just have like some like these like questions like left and all that too. But how do you like even feel about like the whole like Toronto Canadian like music scene at the moment? Like I know you talked about it like for a bit, but do you feel that there should be some changes on like where the scene should go to, or do you feel like it's fine the way it is?
Mm, I think in Toronto, people are a little bit locked in their bubble and everyone's like in their own little group of people, which is cool. Like find your people, that's good. But I think compared to Miami, for example, because I went there recently and it was a completely different experience for me than Toronto. Um, I think people can be a little more open to like collaboration, myself included, honestly. Like I usually work on my own. But I think it would be helpful if more people came together without like without ego too, like without trying to be like, no me, I want to put something on the song. No me, let me do this part. Like just let the song be what it needs to be, you know?
Do you ever feel like there's like a whole like crab in the bucket like mentality like sometimes too, just interacting like these like artists or like people like in this industry and all that?
Well, I think as a woman, I'm gonna go there. um, you come into a studio where like the guys are like the main producers, the main engineers, whatever it might be, and they think that that means they're entitled to like control the room and like what people do, what people lay down and all that. And I think it would be helpful to just let people be and not feel like you have to like boss everyone around and like be the alpha in the room, you know? Um, yeah, because I've been in places and studio sessions like that where I felt like I have an idea, but I don't feel comfortable enough to like say it out loud because I feel like they're in control or something. Like they call the shots, you know?
Yeah, so it's like kind of like a stigma that like a lot of people like do tend to notice too, like even just like the way they treat like certain people too, whether it's like for their own advances or if it's like other stuff and all that. And do you feel like there's like a way to kind of like remove that stigma and like shed that light on like these like people like like you know with like female Toronto artists or like even like women like that run the behind the scenes like in the music industry? Do you feel like that there should be some more light shed on them and all that?
I think the real light that needs to be shed is giving women the same opportunities that your boys get when you're the main producer and you're like, yo, hop on this. How about you do that for the girls that are in the room too? And you get them placements, you get them like these Beyonce songs, these Bryson Tiller songs. Like, there's plenty of really amazing female producers that like wanna do this shit, but because it's usually men who call the shots and are like have those connections, it doesn't happen as often. And like it's also like you're missing out on a bag because you're thinking with this like alpha mentality of like, well, she can't be better than me. Like, you know, it's kind of like this like intimidation.
Oh, for sure, because definitely see like a lot of like women like coming into light like with producing and engineering. I mean, one girl I think was like kind of like the flame that kind of started off, and then like there's like people like Ava Shaw and all that. This other producer, but like the name of like Marie and all that. I think she's like hosting
Oh,
like the whole
Marie,
like
yeah, I did her lashes the other day.
true. Like she does like the whole like mix down thing, so it's like amazing to see like what she's like doing and like shitting like light and like other artists like too and all that too. So and I mean other like even like more of the wind like making like rap and R&B and all that. I think there's like more events like catered to them, and a lot of people are like even like showcasing events too. I think Rax did like an event maybe just like last year showcasing the women. I think there's like also a Toronto Divas type event like that's happening. That's like having like a lot of women perform and all that too. So I see it like going into like the right page and all that too. So
Yeah, I agree that that's really good that that's happening. And I would also add, like, the people and the artists that are showing up for you, pay them. Pay them because they're showing up for you. They're showing up for the event. They're showcasing their talent, blessing everyone's ears, you know? Like, I think paying them, or if you can't, at least provide food and water for the people, you know?
I definitely like agree like in a way too, and like hopefully like more of that's like gonna be done soon and all that. So and like since you've made music, I think like from birth, but like even like taking it like as far as like 2018, 2019, do you feel like you've grown like as an artist from the start of your career until now?
Yeah, I feel like as a person I've grown, so then my perspective is more grown, and I um make music. I've always made music with intention, but now I have a more clear intention of like where I want to take it and how I want it to affect people.
Oh, for sure. And usually like I have like a playlist, where people like tend to tap in with like other artists too and all that, like mainly like on Spotify too. So like there's gonna be like someone like around the world, like let's say like in Coburg, Ontario, or like Detroit, Michigan, or somewhere like in Spain. And they want to like find out about like an artist like that they've never heard for the first time and all that. So um, do you have like, like free songs that you would like to add like for a playlist like that, or like even to recommend for like people right now that, want to know more about you like for the first time and all that too, or like they would like to or that they haven't like heard about you like in a sense?
Yeah, I have a lot of songs. Too many actually. Mhm.
So I guess we'll probably like do like free of these like inner peace, like love language, WBK on all that too. So like that's gonna be like maybe like the first free that are gonna be on the playlist too. So definitely tap in to that playlist soon. It's like in the link in my bio on my page and all that. But either way, but as far as like this year and all that, what do you have going on next? And do you have any like closing remarks you'd like to say?
So I have an EP, another EP that I'm working on that has big themes of like self growth, self journey, all of that. It's gonna be titled Universe, but not universe. It's gonna be like universe, as in like you're tapping into someone's like internal world. And the storyline, it won't be like exactly like from top to bottom per se, but it's kind of like you start off with this like dystopia of like a person's internal world and like the struggles that they're going through and like the lessons they have to learn, and the EP ends with like a more wholesome like, okay, like I've learned these things and I'm more at peace now because of it.
Sure. And is there kind of like an expected release date for that too? Like, are you trying to hone it like sometime by like the end of the year or something like that?
Hopefully end of the year. Right now I have a single called Here coming out. There is not a release date yet, but it will be submitted in the next few days. And that song is gonna be on the EP, and um it's basically about being present and in the moment and not letting external things distract you from what matters, which is just now. So that's what the song is about.
And they can follow you like on like social media like IG and TikTok and all that, right?
Yes. At Nicole Glazunov, pretty much everywhere.
For sure. Nicole, like, thank you for coming by to the podcast, for the very first time to like even sharing like a lot of like good gems and all that too. And like even like speaking more on the music and everything else too. And, definitely have you on back again and all that. And just amazing like to hear like the conversations and everything else too and all that. So, for sure. And, this is like Josh, also known as Yashu, episode 89 of TLOY Talks. You know that you can get this on all platforms as mentioned, like in the beginning, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Buzzsprout, much more. Tap in with Nicole with her music on IG, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, and all that too. Like, definitely supporting artists like here and there and all that. And like it's amazing to have and all that too. Like for these like next coming episodes, we're gonna have a lot more discussions, everything else too, kind of like this and all that. So like definitely tap in like as much as you can and all that too. And yeah, this is episode 89 of TLOI Talks with Josh, also known as Yashu, with the lovely Nicole Glazunov and all that. We're signing off right here.